Love Lies Bleeding. You might call it a crime thriller, a neo-noir, a love story, an erotic thriller even maybe. All those work. A film by Rose Glass, also made Saint Maud from a few years ago. But this one's a little sexier, a little bloodier. Starring Kristen Stewart, Katie O'Brien, Jenna Malone makes an appearance. Perhaps if I were to quibble a bit, I'd say that Ed Harris's character, when the film kind of indulges too much in his archetypical crime boss persona, I feel like it falters a little bit, the movie, as opposed to the leads, Kristen and Katie's character. So I felt like they really brought something new to the table here. Thankfully, the movie does revolve around Kristen and Katie's character. I think like their characters really ground the story, and I feel like, you know, a unique take on a lesbian romance that we haven't really seen before. The movie is a worthy companion to 1996's Bound, the neo-noir crime film from the Wachowskis. But in comparison to a movie like Bound, in which the couple there is a little bit more wholesome, this one is a lot more deranged. Visually, it gets very trippy, and perhaps goes into unexpected places. And if you're looking for a contemporary sexy crime thriller, you can't get much better than this. Spread the word, tell your friends, buff women are here to stay as a normal alternative to the body types we've been accustomed to seeing all these years. And maybe rub this poster in some trad husband's face, you know, just to see them weep. Let's get into the breakdown. We start here in the crevice. A bloody crevice. We'll come to see it a couple more times. It kind of looks kind of like an open bloody wound here, all shot in red. I think that's pretty intentional, where Lou Sr. dumps all the bodies of his enemies. Love is a gaping wound, perhaps. This is a movie with a strong female gaze. As we look at these hot bods working out in the gym. Okay, we're gonna skip through this part a bit because this is my least favorite part of the movie. Oh, yuck. Okay, I don't like seeing toilets with feces in them. Daisy comes on here trying to woo Lou, who's not really having it. Daisy's an interesting character. They did a good job with their character. They gave her these awful teeth, you know. Easy way to make someone off-putting is giving them some bad colored teeth. I guess we established Kirsten being somewhat of a loner here. First introduction of Jackie here. She's the kind of character who's not so precious about sex and perhaps feels it's a necessity, you know, to offer sex for the sake of a job, because she does, as we see here, she is homeless. And here we have Lou. She of course is tries to be present for her sister, who's in this abusive relationship here. Franco's character JJ, who happens to have a job working at the shooting range under Lou Sr. So they try to give Lou here an interesting little quirk. He's a bug dude. He likes bugs, you know, even though he's a murderous crime boss. To give him a little bit more character, humanize a little bit. He's interested in little critters and animals over the lives of people, it seems. And so it begins. Louis is mesmerized by Jack here. A little bit of foreshadowing here, like of the FBI questioning Lou here about her father. I appreciate that this movie doesn't really linger on homophobia or anything. Lou even mentions that her father doesn't have an issue with her being gay at all. But then there is this little slight moment here where these guys, you know, poke fun of Lou for being lesbian. It is the 80s. It is 1989. We do get an indication later, you know, when the Berlin Wall falls on the news, that this is 1989. If you haven't noticed by the aesthetics of everything. Jackie here quickly shows that she's ready to defend her bae. It doesn't seem like a big deal. It feels like she's been in these in these fights before, and she seems to hold her own. You know, she's got the build to hold her own. Unlike Lou here, who may admire from afar, but she's aware of her scrawny nature. Uh-oh, Lou's gonna introduce Jackie to some steroids. A little bit of a vice in here that will surely is gonna come back in the future and bite Jackie in the butt. Where do you want it? In the butt? I do like this first little kiss here. It does feel very natural. She makes a little comment about steroids being like Popeye. This is when things get steamy. Very well shot sex scenes here, I think. And here we get the first peek of the trippy stylings of this movie. How, you know, perhaps there's a little bit of body horror coming up. This visual flourish with the focusing on the bulking of the muscles, the veins popping and all that. You know, a little preview of what's to come, and perhaps indicating that, hey, this movie, there's something off about this movie. There's something perhaps supernatural, or maybe it's just representative of how these characters are feeling. And of course, we got the morning after scene. Jackie does criticize Lou's cooking a bit, preferring to have her yolks taken out of her eggs. This is an early indication that Jackie perhaps doesn't give as much as she takes. And of course, Lou is so infatuated, it doesn't bother her too much at the moment. You know, then we get some more cute montages of the couple getting closer, eggs and sex and all that jazz. Daisy, of course, seems to be a bit jealous at this point. Louis pushing some steroids on her beefcake lover. And of course, Jackie wants some fame in the bodybuilding community, so she's gonna go for it. And Jackie here is reading an anthology book of erotic stories entitled Macho Sluts. This is a book by Pat Calafia, which includes a lot of stories revolving around BDSM in the lesbian community. And I guess it shows in how Lou is interested in exploring these dynamics of masc versus femme, domination versus submission in her relationship with Jackie. And of course, the movie itself also challenges traditional gender roles with this couple in the center. And we'll see soon how their dynamic evolves, you know, who's really the dominant one in this relationship, you know. Here's another bit of foreshadowing. This animated film here is Gulliver's Travels, of course, the story of this giant man at odds with these little people here. He's tied up, you know, another BDSM illusion. And of course, foreshadowing what we'll see in the end of the movie when Jackie hulks up. More sexy time here with some protein drinks. Get buffed. What a freaking asshole. He freaking shoots over her shoulder here just to get her attention. Kind of surprised she doesn't react with more anger. Then again, but I guess it's just another example of how we can't really complain too much against our bosses when we need to make ends meet. Just a couple cuties, nothing wrong's gonna happen here. And here's the scene that makes it real clear that Lou's sister is being abused by her husband. Lou's sister Beth, played by Jenna Malone. Pretty good casting, you know. She looks like she could be Stewart's sister, and they have some good chemistry as sisters. And you don't usually see Jenna Malone play this type of character, which is interesting. You know, Beth is like the opposite of Lou's character, representing the traditional role a woman should play. All the horrors that come with that. But there, JJ revealed that Jackie slept with them to get the job, and that upsets Lou, obviously. Earlier in the gym, she was concerned that Jackie was just a straight girl, you know, trying out kissing a girl for the kicks. She feels like Jackie's affection for her is less than. She's taking her anger out on Jackie's bisexuality. We're starting to see more depth in her character. She's starting to reveal more about her inner emotions. Just a momentary heated little argument there. And they have makeup sex afterwards, so it's all good. And just when things are back on track, she gets a call that her sister's in the hospital. Of course, JJ has beaten her senseless. Lou Sr. comes in. It's a bit odd that he hasn't been more threatening towards JJ. I guess it just goes to show how he's a traditional patriarch. He's kind of leaving it up to his daughter Beth to decide how to move forward. and giving JJ more slack. Perhaps Lou Sr. was abusive to his own wife, and so maybe Lou just has more sympathy towards JJ than he should, as a misogynist himself. Again, Lou, Kristen Stewart's character, feeling again powerless in this patriarchal world, while her sister Beth, in a sort of Stockholm syndrome situation, seems to always love her husband no matter what he does. It's complicated, but not so much to Jackie, who is gonna make things real simple and easy with the use of violence. Lou Sr. does notice Jackie in the room at this moment. A little bit of awkward, but he understands real quick that's like, oh yeah, they're dating. It's muscle time. Again, I feel like that's all in Jackie's mind, in her head. It's just representative of what's in her mind. It's not really actually bulking up, and veins aren't really popping like that. Did not expect Jackie to do this, to actually go all the way and actually kill him quite viciously, like, completely destroying his jaw. This is the point where the movie becomes more manic, an intense, tense thriller, as Lou and Jackie try to figure out how they can get out of this situation. Here's the moment where Lou decides to do everything she can to keep Jackie safe. This is perhaps where the title of the movie comes in. Love lies bleeding. The idea that love makes you do irrational things, whether it's crimes of passion or covering up crimes of passion. The love lies bleeding is a common name for this one flower that looks just like this, like a bleeding heart. Perhaps because of your broken heart, or because you're in a violent relationship, you may find that your loving heart lies in your palms, bleeding for your loved one. Perhaps you offer that bleeding love to protect them at your expense, get your hands bloody. Elton John had a song called Love Lies Bleeding about a broken relationship. And love lies bleeding in my hands. Oh, it kills me to think of you with another man. According to Genius.com, it refers to the death of a rock star's relationship. In the case of this movie, Lou has to go above and beyond to cover up all the dead bodies. This is just the first one. And so she has to get her hands bloody too, for the sake of love. And Jackie herself, in a demonstration of love, kills the person that's causing Lou the most grief at the moment. JJ, who's being a monster to his wife and Lou's sister. To be in love perhaps means to walk around with a gaping wound in your heart. For Jenna Malone's character, Beth, she endures her husband beating her for the sake of love, because she loves him no matter what. And that's a common thing you see in those abusive relationships. Lou Sr.'s idea of love, and perhaps protecting his family in a way, is to provide for his family via the weapon trade, and involving a lot of blood and violence. At this point, Lou has become the dominant partner in this relationship, basically telling Jackie to trust her, like, hey, do as I say, without giving Jackie much of an option, or even like elaborating on what the plan is. Of course, Lou Sr. as a crime boss has bought a police officer, making sure he doesn't get in trouble with the law. Jackie returns all hyped up on those roids. I guess this is kind of like the big breakup. But of course, Jackie at this point is very deranged at this point. Yeah, she killed her. She killed the man. With this psychedelic van here, I was expecting a stone out of your mind, a psychedelic scene here, but it subverts your expectations a bit here. And basically, she's like woke up hungover at Vegas. At this point, maybe you think that she's lost it, and can she recover? Is she gonna recover? And she does. She's gotta inject a little bit of those steroids is all, and she's back up and running. Now, I don't know how these judges decide on who has the best body, if it's based on bulk or is it based on just the overall presentation? But, you know, to my eyes, I think Jackie's looking pretty good. But again, this movie twists and turns. Maybe you were expecting more of a competition, but instead it focuses all on her inner mindscape. And who comes along? It's Lou. Of course, it's just Lou in her head. She's not really there. Just as she's getting a lot of cheers in the crowd, she's starting to feel sick. Something's weighing her down, and that thing is her love for Lou, what she's done for Lou, the fact that Lou wants to protect Jackie by keeping her away from her dream of becoming a bodybuilder at this moment. And this is some real good effects here. Some gross out body horror effects that would make Cronenberg smile. Look at that. That's grotesque. Giving birth to frickin' Lou. Lou's pleading her to lay low. Jackie's doing the opposite by getting into the spotlight. And we cut to it's just throw up. Again, establishing that all this fantastical imagery is all in her head, you know. It's just a representation of her character's emotions. She looks and sees that the other contestants laughing at her, and she burst out into violence, continuing her cycle of derangement, her cycle of violence. That's it for the competition. She goes to jail. Meanwhile, Daisy's visiting Lou. Can we get a look at Daisy's sinister side, perhaps? It brings up the moments when she noticed that Lou and Jackie on the road earlier, when Jackie was driving Lou's car and Lou was driving JJ's car. Is this an intentional veiled threat to get Lou into bed? Whatever the case, Lou sees the potential danger of having Daisy out there blabbing about what she saw. So she has to, again, do something she doesn't want to for the sake of love. For the sake of protecting Jackie, her love. She sleeps with Daisy. Jackie finds out via the phone call. Daisy's all happy while Lou's contemplating all these choices she's made with her bleeding heart. So I guess Jackie got a second phone call and was able to contact Lou Sr. here, her boss, to come rescue her. He knows that Jackie's in a very vulnerable position, and so he basically commands her to kill off Daisy in exchange for his protection. Daisy could rat out his daughter and you know, cause a bunch of trouble that will lead back to him, because Lou, of course, decided to drop the car into that crevice where Lou Sr. has dumped a bunch of bodies in the past. But here Lou has to work her magic to convince Daisy to basically shut up and keep her mouth shut. She's gonna have to keep up the kissing and the loving to keep Daisy on her side. Another sacrifice in this bloody love story. And then we get a 1-2 punch of bodily fluids, which might have been excessive if it wasn't so well done. Daisy's now taken care of via Jackie's gun here. Yeah, in a way, I thought maybe things were getting a little bit too chaotic at this point. All this violence for the sake of spectacle. But I think the performances of Stewart and O'Brien here just really pull it off. It's like, at the end of the day, it does work. It really ups the ante to like 15. It used to be like at 12, and now it's like 15. Like, what the fuck is going on? Once again, Lou had to fucking clean up for her girlfriend here. We get a little bit of a peek of Jackie's home life. She has a sibling that misses her, and a mother that doesn't want anything to do with her. It would have been nice to see a little more clarity of what's going on with Jackie's past, but you know, but it's fine. And now the FBI is here. You can see a little bit of some dark humor here with the body of Daisy behind the couch while the FBI are questioning Lou here, the cat licking up the blood. But I guess here's where we get more of the reveal that Lou was the sidekick to her father in the crime business. in the business of crime and weapons smuggling. It's starting to all to fit together now. Like, yeah, like Lou does know what they're doing. They've most likely had a bunch of experience when it comes to covering up dead bodies or such, and cleaning up after messes. The FBI leaves, and Lou Sr. gives his daughter one last chance to come to his side. But thankfully, her love for Jackie is just too powerful. She threatens him to spill the beans about all the wrongdoings he's done in the past to the FBI if he doesn't release Jackie. Turns out his love for his family isn't as strong as the love for himself. So he sends out his cop friend to kill his most troublesome daughter. There he goes. Now here's the beetle sequence where he munches on the beetle. Deciding to murder his daughter is his lowest point, and he feels like he has no other option. So he expresses that anger by destroying the things he holds most dear, which are his bugs and his little critters. This is a little bit much for me. I think like it was a little bit forced. It just felt like a quirky thing to do that didn't like really fit well with his character to me. We get a nice little shootout here. Lou survives the shootout. When Lou gets here, she sees Sharon leave. Who is this person? I feel like they cut out some scenes with her or something. I'm assuming it's like Lou Sr.'s latest wife or something. Oh, this is a great scene with Beth confronting Lou here. Lou doesn't outright say that she was involved in the murder, but it's pretty clear. And basically saying that, you know, she did all this because she loves her. And Beth, of course, didn't want this at all. She wanted to deal with it her own way, I guess. She can't get into details at this point because she's in a hurry to find Jackie, her love. But this scene kind of just shows that like Lou is a bit of a monster herself as well. She is one of the protagonists we're following and rooting for in this tale, but she's heavily flawed. Goes to the extent of hurting her sister to get info on Jackie, you know. I mean, this scene is brutal, but in a different way than the other violent scenes, because it's more like a sisterly love-hate relationship that really feels true to life here, and just illustrates how low Lou has sunk because of love. Of course, she's not as abusive as JJ. She's still being abusive to the person that she supposedly was trying to protect, you know. And it doesn't get any clearer than when she leaves and says this. Love you, sis! It's probably the most loaded love you in the freaking movie. So Lou finds Jackie and she's got it all figured out. She's so upset about her being with Daisy and all. Lou has to explain that she was doing that for her because Daisy was gonna rat on them. So it's a little bit of a mirror of the scene from earlier in which Lou was upset at Jackie for sleeping with JJ. This time though, there's a gun in her face, and so things are real heightened now. You know, but Lou explains herself, and they come together. And at last, it feels like maybe they will just get through all this. But Lou is still in the very dominant position here, asking Jackie to listen to her without question again. But this time Jackie's like at the end of her rope. But Lou still has a little bit of growing to do. And Jackie, literal growing. And then, oops, looks like Lou doesn't have everything figured out. Because she gets shot in her leg. Calling her ungrateful and all that. You know, he wants to show like, hey, he's the kingpin here. In a way, this story has been a redemption arc for Lou here. By turning in her father, she feels like she can close that chapter and become a better person, and probably, if she dies here, she at least dies a good person in her mind. Lou Sr. denies that he killed his wife and her mother, but basically still blaming her for leaving. It seems that she didn't want to be under his thumb and play the traditional wife and mother role. So maybe he didn't kill her, but either way, he was still trying to dictate the family unit in a very traditional patriarchal kind of way, which relates to how he was sympathetic towards JJ. enough not to beat his ass earlier, and allowed that dynamic between JJ and his daughter Beth to go on for so long. And of course, she doesn't believe him, and now we get the She-Hulk moment no one saw coming, in which Jackie, powers up. She senses that her love is in danger and she has to go to the rescue, right? So she bulks up. I feel like this is all in her mind, that she's not really becoming a gigantic woman here. Keep in mind here that Rose Glass, the director, the movies she makes, like in her previous film, Saint Maud, she has imagery in it that's fantastical, that's out of this world, but it's representative of the character's mindscape, the character's thoughts, the character's desires, the character's perception of the world, and not strictly a literal representation of what's actually happening in reality. We see Lou Sr. looking up at her. We see her as a big old woman. We see her picking him up like Gulliver from Gulliver's Travels, just about to crush him with her bare hands. But again, this is all just a visual exaggeration. In reality, I just think Lou Sr. is in awe of Jackie standing above him, flexed out with her muscles all tense and perhaps veins showing. Just wearing that bikini, as if she was at the bodybuilding competition, being this imposing figure over him. And Jackie feels larger than life, and so that comes across. And so she pins him down, and she's got that strength, she's got that body to pin him down, even without being a big old kaiju. And she probably breaks his arms, while Lou gets ready to pull the trigger. Jackie wants it to happen, but again, Lou has decided that she's a good person at this point. She's like, no, I'm not gonna go through with it. I'm not gonna murder him in cold blood here. I'm gonna leave him crippled for the cops to take care of, as me and my girlfriend run off into the sunset. That's her way of overcoming his presence in her life, and and starting anew, becoming her own person with Jackie. And here they're running through the clouds, both of them, like they're pretty big running through the clouds, right? Of another metaphorical visual exaggeration, because they're happy and blissful. They've won the day. They're on the way to California, they said. Maybe reminiscent of other movies that end with a happy lesbian couple. But unlike something like Bound, this movie is a lot more demented. These characters are deranged, and if you thought maybe they turned a new leaf, no. She sees that Daisy is still alive and kicking. She's got to wrap it up, make sure there's no loose ends. And maybe Jackie is the kind of killer who only kills out of passion, but Lou's a little bit more calculating. And Lou's not going to be a goody two shoes. She's gonna do what she feels like she needs to do in order to protect her relationship. She takes a cigarette from dead Daisy, unlike the moment earlier where she decided against taking the cigarette from JJ's dead body. She's gonna stick to some bad habits, whether it's nicotine or the occasional murder. And that's Love Lies Bleeding. And check out the cute little dance number at the end. Now this little silhouette, I think, is actually just a behind the scenes shot of the green screen stage where they did the last sequence of them running through the clouds. But I guess you can also interpret this as just like them landing in California. Maybe they're working in Hollywood now. While no one's looking, they're having a good old time on stage. It's still a happy ending in a way. Are you gonna get your hands bloody for love? Does love lie bleeding in your palms? I'll watch more stuff and I'll chat about it. So stay tuned. See ya next time. Bye bye.